A very good evening to everyone gathered here today. It gives me an absolute honor and pleasure to be able to host this event today. It has been 8 long years since the passing away of Professor J.N.O. Fernando, the founder of the graduateship course in chemistry. Professor J.N.O. Fernando was born on the leap year of 1944 on February 29th. He was known to be a very playful boy in his childhood, and he completed his studies in St. Thomas's College, Mount Lebanon. He has never failed to receive, as said by his peer students, to receive the weekly report of being the first in his class in lower school. And despite the mean health he had during school, he was able to pass his advanced level examination with the best results in the country. He read his BSc degree from the University of Ceylon and obtained his PhD from the Imperial College of Science and Technology of the University of London as a Commonwealth postgraduate scholar. Ever since, he has been able to serve as a lecturer at various universities all around the country and internationally as well, and has taught many of the greatest educators that we have today, including some of our very own lecturers. This institute was full of his presence ever since it has been established. Even after almost a decade since he has been gone, each and every corner of its institute speaks and reminds us of him. His great conduct and principles are still spoken of among us. We are students who have unfortunately never been able to receive the opportunity to learn under him. But we are who we are today because of his visions, and as students of CCS, we owe that much to him. Today, we are all gathered to commemorate the 79th birth anniversary and the 8th death anniversary of such a great personality. I warmly welcome and thank everyone present here this evening. To formally commence the event, I would like to invite the President of Institute of Chemistry, Ceylon, Mr. N.M.S. Hettigether, to welcome the audience.
Good afternoon to you all, past presidents and the council members. Mrs. Mandu, Mr. Karuna, we have invited an eminent chemist, our own alumni member, Dr.Piyal Ariyananda, well-known person, head Global Innovations, Stretchline Holding Limited, to deliver 8th Emeritus Professor J.N.O. Fernando Memorial Oration titled Down the Memory Lane with Professor J.N.O. and his vision on industry and academy. Dr. Piyal is a 1997 batch graduate and is a very dedicated alumnus of the Institute of Chemistry who had associated with the Professor J.N.O. Fernando very closely. And therefore, he is one of the most suitable person to deliver the oration. I cordially welcome you, sir. Right. Welcome. I welcome Professor Fernando, who is closely associated with our activities, and also welcome the past presidents, members, well-wishers, distinguished guests and invitees, students who are present here today. I also welcome the Dean of the College of Chemical Sciences, present Dean of the Chemical Sciences, Professor Namal Priyantha, because he is a successor. The first Dean of this college is the Professor J.N.O. Fernando. Therefore, we must be thankful to him present here today, especially the academic and non-academic staff of the College of Chemical Sciences and the Institute. As you are aware, this year too, we have organized several other activities, the parallel to main commemoration event by the committee chaired by the Dr. A.P. Kirti and the team. They are they are the very religious ceremonies organized in 3rd March, 2023, and the awarding prizes to the winners of Professor J.N.O. Fernando Inter-Level Chemistry Knowledge Quiz, and donation of some essential items worth more than 5,000 to each non-academic staff members of the student, around more than 40. These events have been jointly organized by the J.N.O. Fernando Commemoration Committee and the Student Council of the CCS. I thank them all for a dedication and excellent arrangement made towards the success of this important annual event of paying tribute to our great teacher and the leader. Professor Fernando was born on 29th February 1944, a leap year, and his sudden demise on 2nd March 2015. He just turned 71 years on 1st March 2015. 2nd March became a day of mourning. The grief outpoured from relatives, friends, students, staff, and sent shock waves among all those who were closely associated with him. Here and abroad, it was an untimely death of great teacher and eminent chemist who contributed his time and energy to bring the Institute of Chemistry and the College of Chemical Sciences to the present high standard. He was respected and loved by all. In the year 1985, I got the opportunity to follow the GIC course and to be one of the Professor J.N.O. Fernando's student at CCS, at that time, Educational Committee. There's no college, and there is Institute of Chemistry, to follow the graduate program in chemistry, a memorable and unique turning point in my life, which paved the way for many more successes later. At that time, I had been serving as a head of the pharmacy section of the reputed nursing home in Maradana. I had to sit for the competitive exam conducted by the State Pharmaceuticals Corporation of Sri Lanka, popularly known as SPC, to get the position there. The examination was to be held on a particular weekend, during which I had to attend the compulsory tutorial classes of the Professor J.N.O. Fernando and the Professor W.S. Fernando in order to sit for the graduateship examination conducted by the ICMC. I had to choose one of them. While looking for an option, luckily I met Professor J.N.O. Fernando and Professor W.S. Fernando at St. Thomas College premises. On their advice, I sat the competitive examination conducted by the State Pharmaceuticals Corporation of Sri Lanka. and then attended after 2 hours later, I came back to the St. Thomas College and attended the tutorial classes and tutorial classes. I was successful at the examination after that, joined the SPC as a pharmacist. My GIC Part 2 results were out. I got the merit pass, qualifying me to get the graduation of the institute. I belong to the 1991 batch of graduate chemists. If he's not advised me to go there, I am not here today. That's what I want to give that access. In addition to gaining the subject knowledge in chemistry, I learned a lot from the Professor J.N.O. Fernando, such as commitment, dedication in facing challenges, financial procedures, and good governance. As a great leader, by example, he was shown us that true professionalism looked like and how it behaves. I owe him a lot for the guidance and encouragement given to me during my service as a treasurer of the IKMC and during IYC 2011 activities, which could be concluded with a great success. And in fact, it had been the biggest event undertaken by the Institute. So far, Professor J.N.O. Fernando went into the extent of saying that I was the role model of the Institute of Chemistry in one of his articles provided to chemistry in Sri Lanka. I found this one. I'm thankful to him because I never expected such a great encouragement for me. I still remember the last date I met him at his residence in Moratuwa. Although I had been closely associated with IKMC as well as the college activities, I could not visit the institute for some time due to pressure of work in my job at the Police Medical Services Police Department. And due to my postgraduate studies, he persuaded Mr. Jayasekara, then his witness here, he then additional registrar, to tell me that at least I should drop at IKMC as he had not met me for several months. Thus, I got the opportunity to visit him at his home in Moratuwa, along with Mr. Jayasekara, on March 1st, 2015, just 24 hours before his sudden demise. While having a lengthy chat and enjoying delicious food prepared by Mrs. Mandrupa, Madam Fernando, we exchanged ideas related to food and nutrition in my capacity as a dietitian nutritionist, where I advised him to take diets such as soups in view of his sickness. We had an interesting conversation on Institute affairs. He was very happy to spend some time with us and had been a great opportunity for us too. He insisted that I should drop at IKMC whenever I find some time. On the previous day, if I remember correctly, he attended 3 meetings at the IKMC, but he was normal. Probably he believed that the treatment that had been planned would definitely recover from the illness. I do not want to go into details on matters related to his great commitment to the advancement of the Institute of and College of Chemical Science, as well as his extensive services rendered as a great teacher, exemplary leader. I leave that option to Dr.Piyal Ariyananda, who will deliver his oration. However, I would like to take this opportunity to highlight some of the long-term expectations for which all need to work essentially. Chairperson of this committee, give me 5 minutes. Okay. One of his expectations was the Alumni Association would become an organized and influential body to help the graduate chemists and youngsters. He encouraged to organize social gatherings of the association and allocated some funds too. Professor J.N.O. Fernando appealed to the graduate chemists at several important events to provide support and assistance to work of the institute by serving on its numerous bodies and subcommittees, so that the institute can go from strength to strength, enhance professionalism in the country, in our chemistry in our country. In his Dean's report, very important, in 2010, he stated that both institute and the college will have to increasingly depend on the cooperation of our alumni. And alumni members should consider it is their pride to take on the position of office bearers of the CCS, and the institute provide physical support to run the programs. Professor Arjuna Aluvihare, too, in the third convocation, address appealed the graduate chemists to come forward. He's a searcher to determine manner and support the institute. I quote the academic parent, as quoted by the Professor J.N.O. Fernando in an editorial contribution to chemistry in Sri Lanka in 2007. Mr. Mevan Piris had also stated that it is the time that new generation took control of the affairs of the institute. Professor J.N.O. Fernando was thinking a few CCS alumni who were actively involved in assisting the activities, but he also mentioned that the number can be counted, I quote, within the two fingers on one's hand, unquote, the Professor J.N.O.'s own words. I am indeed very happy and proud that I could contribute to his appeal by serving as a member of various committees and as a treasurer of ICMC and secretary. He was thankful to appreciative of me, of one of the graduate chemists who has taken onerous task of taking over the chairman of the IYC steering committee at that time with the novel, innovative and ideas suggestions. He stated in his article to special IYC 2011 special issue of chemistry in Sri Lanka published in January 2011 that with the very little help from the graduate chemist, institute members has taken steps amongst the singularly to find sponsors and bear the brunt of heavy work load of IYC 2011. He further stated, I quote, here we have splendid example of a graduate chemist alumnus coming forward with innovative ideas that I hope and pray will enable chemistry and chemists of Sri Lanka to be on a very high standard at the end of 2011 and beyond, unquote. He mentioned, I hope our alumni members will encouraged by these words. Please go through chemistry in Sri Lanka journals at that time and get the idea about Professor J.N.O. Fernando's expectations. Another expectation that it could not be fulfilled so far stated by him related to the status of chemical science profession. He stated that keeping with the declared objective section 3K of our Act of Incorporation, which is the enhance of the status of profession of chemistry in Sri Lanka, we are required in section 9 to take steps for the maintenance of professional standards and discipline among persons practicing and acting chemistry in Sri Lanka. He pointed out that we have still failed even initiate necessary steps in these directions by having legislation enacted by Parliament to make registration of chemists and the accreditation of chemical laboratories mandatory. As far back as in 2011, having discussed with Professor J.N.O. Fernando and with the consent of the Council, I tried to develop the Chemist Act as adopted in Malaysia. I contacted the Honorable Minister Tissa Withana, then the Senior Minister of Scientific Affairs, with the view to appointing authorized person to issue certificates to confirm its specification and to analyze the products imported or exported to ensure the acceptable standards are followed, which would result in the improvement of the quality of the life of the people. I emphasize the need to have a group of national level professionals with necessary legal authority to handle the present issues in the regard to chemicals. At present, there are no such legal empowered chemistry professionals to be responsible or certify the quality of raw materials, finished products, consumer products, or any other industrial products. In 2011, we went to the extent of drafting the Act for legal consultation. We were not sure whether draft a new act or amend the existing act, and a lot of consultation were needed. However, my effort did not materialize at that time due to various reasons. Despite the above situation, as mentioned, In my induction speech, I have already laid foundation to contribute to his expectation, at least some extent by establishing National Secretariat of Practice of Chemistry and passing the bylaws. The National Secretariat will be responsible for professional practice of chemistry, which covers performance of service related to public interest, public safety, quality assurance, legal or regulatory matters. I have already conducted discussions with the relevant authorities in the Ministry of Education, Presidential Secretariat, and the Ministry of Health, and also with the Ministry of Industry. I am pleased to say that the first step of registration of chemists in specific fields has been already initiated. Although there are several circulars issued by the government regarding the acceptance of GIC qualification for various jobs, I wanted to streamline all of them. Therefore, on 26 September 2022, I have written to the Secretary Ministry of Education and the Chairman UGC on recognition of graduate course program as a professional qualification. We have embarked on a continuous professional development program to improve the quality of chemistry graduates employed in the industry. That is also one of the expectations of Professor J.N.O. Fernando. Among the several objectives, it will update and enhance the existing knowledge and laboratory skills based on relevant new development in the field of chemical analysis. The industry can obtain further details from the institute, a Master of Chemical Analysis program to fill the gap of practicing chemists in the industry, and also develop the chemical laboratory and training center has been planned by the supporting our visionary leaders' expectation. Let us go together, try our best to achieve what Professor J.N.O. Fernando expected from professional chemists by actively participation in the institute activities with dedication, encourage, commitments. We will carry forward the legacy he left behind by following the path he opened for us. That is how we could honor our great leader and beloved teacher. I warmly welcome all of you again, and I appreciate your presence here at this important situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, to read the citation and to invite the orator of today's event, I invite Dr. Gopika Tirupuranathar, Head of the Department of Chemistry and Senior Lecturer, College of Chemical Sciences, Institute of Chemistry, Ceylon.
Thank you, Mithuni. Good evening, all of you. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce Dr.Piyal Ariyananda, the first graduate chemist orator of the Emeritus Professor J.N.O. Fernando, and undoubtedly one of the most colorful and proud products of the Institute of Chemistry, Ceylon. Dr. Piyal graduated from the Institute of Chemistry, Ceylon in 1997 with a second class upper division and became the second of the batch. Soon after graduation, he began his industrial career, joining as a chemist at Unilever, Ceylon. Later, in 2001, Dr. Piyal and his wife, Dr. Mihiri, both are products of the Institute of Chemistry, Ceylon, found the opportunity to pursue MSc in Inorganic Chemistry at the University of Louisiana, Monroe, and Dr. Piyal was the proud recipient of the Most Outstanding Graduate Student Award in the Department of Chemistry of the University of Louisiana, Monroe. In 2010, Dr. Piyal obtained his PhD in bioinorganic chemistry at the University of Delaware. Subsequently, he worked as a postdoctoral fellow at the same university, where he worked on the chemical conversion of carbon dioxide to useful chemicals. In 2012, Dr. Piyal was offered a postdoctoral scientist position at BASF Catalytic Research Laboratory, Germany, and being the first and so far the only Sri Lankan to receive such a position. After returning to Sri Lanka in 2013 due to personal reasons, Dr. Piyal joined as a visiting lecturer at the Institute of Chemistry, Ceylon, under the guidance of late Professor J.N.O. Fernando, and later in the same year, he joined as the head of research and development at Midas Safety. Dr. Piyal's industrial career was decorated with several positions, including Head of Research and Development at Midas Safety and Head of Innovations at Mars Bodyline. He also contributed to the country as an advisor to the Sri Lankan Parliamentary Committee on STEM education reforms for Sri Lanka and was instrumental in formulating policies on STEM education in Sri Lanka and intellectual property rights of artists. Currently, Dr. Piyal is serving as the head of Global Innovation Stretchline Holdings and a consultant in sustainable innovation. He has over 10 years of research, industrial research and innovation experience with overall about 22 years of research experience. He has many achievements including international patents and unique products designed for glove industry. He is also a visiting lecturer at the Institute of Chemistry, Ceylon, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura and University of Jaffna. Serving as the current chairman of the Sri Lankan chapter of the Royal Society of Chemistry, Dr. Piyal is a popular science communicator in Sri Lanka. Until the recent corona pandemic, he presented a weekly science program in the national radio for 2.5 years, and he is one of the most sought scientists for the media in scientific opinions. He is also contributor to the Sri Lankan Business TV YouTube channel on science and life cycle related areas. Dr. Piyal was a columnist on scientific articles in many Sri Lankan newspapers as well. His articles, videos can be seen all over the web, not only as a scientist, but also as an actor in a popular teledrama. Now, let me welcome Dr. Piyal Ariyananda to deliver the 8th Emeritus Professor J.N.O. Fernando Memorial Oration on Down the Memory Lane with Professor J.N.O. and his vision on industry and academia. Over to you, Dr. Piyal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gobi, for that long introduction. And the chairman of Institute of Chemistry, the academic senior professors, academic staff, non-academic staff, students, and the family of late Professor J.N.O. Fernando and Mrs. Mandrupa Fernando is connecting us through Zoom, and everybody gathered here. It's a once in a lifetime honor and a privilege to a person to deliver a commemoration oration for a role model that we saw in our lives and deliver such a lecture in his commemoration. And I take this as one of the highest point of my life. So thank you very much, the committee, for inviting me. So today I'm gonna talk about two or three different things. One thing is down the memory lane with Professor J.N.O. Fernando. And the second one is his vision on the industry and academia collaboration, as well as a little bit of my research, what I'm doing in the industry. So when I did my A-level in 1993, I didn't have any idea what should I do after I finish my A-levels. And my teachers educated me that there is an Institute of Chemistry. You can learn chemistry because you are good at chemistry. So then I went to the Institute of Chemistry. At that time, the office was at Vidya Mandira class. Mr. Bawa was there, late Mr. Bawa. And I took the application. I didn't have any idea that it will change my life like this. So at that time, we were very small, and I'm not big as now either. We had to go through a interview. And then when I went to the interview, I am from a rural village, and then I knew a little bit of English. And then Professor J.N.O. Fernando, I think Professor Jans, and Mr. Bawa was in the interview panel. And that was the first time I spoke in English a little bit in the presence of an elite panel like that. And Professor J.N.O. Fernando's voice was very, it's a unique voice. And he said, this is a very hard, course to follow. I was like, okay. So that was my first encounter with Professor J.N.O. Fernando. And I was so scared. I said, okay. And somehow I was selected to the Institute of Chemistry course, and that's where everything changed. So Professor J.N.O. Fernando, when I knew him from the beginning of 1994, he was the one who started conducting the English course to us and things like that. He was a very black and white person. There's no gray area in his decisions or in his mannerisms. He was very straightforward person. That's one reason actually I wanted to deliver this talk in black and white, because there were a lot of lessons we learned at the Institute of Chemistry for academic as well as life lessons. So I'm going to take some of these life lessons and academic lessons, and I'm going to explain what we learned and how he inspired thousands of students, not only me. There are so many students who were inspired to pursue the higher education and change their careers. So one of the most popular sayings he has, and all the Institute of Chemistry students who learn from him would know, whatever the path, the vertical height is the same. So it is a thermodynamic, second law of thermodynamics. That's the simplest way he can explain the second law of thermodynamics. Now, the example he has taken is traveling from Colombo to Kandy. So there are many paths you can take. You can go from Coronagale area, you can go from direct Kandy Road, or you can go from Nuwara. But the distance, the vertical height between Colombo and Kandy remains the same. So that is something, it is not only for the second law of thermodynamics, but it is also a life lesson. So people like us, actually most of the Institute of Chemistry students at that time were there because they could not qualify for the government universities. There were a couple of marks missed from that, and there were no other option for us. So that's where we ended up. So we ended up at the Institute of Chemistry, just like our colleagues, our friends who qualified for the national universities. And when we went through the 4 years, and then we graduated as professionals, not the academics at that time. And then we went through our careers, got PhDs, went into industry or academia, and we are here today. And the other way, my colleagues who went through the government universities have gone through the same path, and we ended up in the same positions. So whatever the path you take, it's immaterial where you start and where you end. So that is a life lesson. It is not a thermodynamic lesson. So that is where he brought his vision to us. So another thing he wanted to talk about is under all circumstances. So he talks about the ideal gas law under all the circumstances. So he had a very great, I mean, he is one of the most integrated person. He who had the integrity. I haven't seen such a person with straight black and white answers. So whatever the problem we brought to him, he has an answer. It's very clear. So under all the circumstances, he maintained his integrity, whether it's a student who is very loyal to him or a person who has never seen him. His decisions were the same. There was no any biasness or ambiguity in that. So that is one interesting and very valuable trait he had. So those are the lessons we learn from him. So also he is kind of a person who loved Sri Lanka. He had ample opportunities to leave this country with his credentials, with his connections, and the whole package he had. He had ample opportunities to leave the country, but he never left the country permanently. His advice for us also, you can go out, learn, grow, come back to Sri Lanka and serve the motherland. So that was one of the most emphasized advisors to us. So honoring that, actually, I came back to Sri Lanka. There were 3 times in my life he asked me to come back to Sri Lanka. After my PhD graduation, he said, "Piyal, what are your thoughts on coming back to Sri Lanka?" And then after I finished my first postdoc in 2012, I was planning to go to Germany. And then he asked me to send my CV to him to consider academic position at the Institute of Chemistry. And the 3rd time when I decided to come to Sri Lanka, he welcomed me and he said, the door is always open for you to come back to Sri Lanka and the Institute of Chemistry. Those are the 3 times he kind of influenced me to come back to Sri Lanka. So he loved Sri Lanka, and this is something, it is not a very serious manner what he's telling. Whatever happens in Sri Lanka, a good or bad thing, he is with his signature laugh and the voice, he says, Sri Lanka, a land like no other. People who were in the council, people who associated with him would know the meaning of it. So good way or bad way, Sri Lanka is a land like no other. So, and the other thing, he influenced me mostly, and some of the close students, is that this is something he personally told me. Piyal, in any foreign country, you are nobody. But in your motherland, you are at least somebody. So that hit my heart a lot, because we experience our lives in other countries. For any country, we are just 3rd-class citizens. We are not anybody else. But at least in Sri Lanka, now I experience that. If I was in USA, I would be just another scientist in one of the organizations. I don't think I will be able to go into any other place other than that. But here, I do a lot of things. I could go to the parliament as an advisor to the committee for the STEM education in Sri Lanka. If that went well, actually, the Sri Lankan education system could have been different today. So STEM education is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics integrated into the curriculum. So it is not just like subject-wise. There's a whole different education method, and we formulated the policy from grade 1 to the A levels and even beyond. So there were 168 experts joined in that committee, and the policy is in the parliament. The only thing is that is not being implemented, unfortunately. And not only that, I could contribute to many other things. So this is something very true, and it is very close to my heart. In any foreign country, I would have been another citizen or nobody. But here, I do a lot of things, and I don't say I'm popular, but people recognize me. So even when I go to, last time when I went to hardware store, one of the Mudalali said, I have seen you in a TikTok. So that is good thing and a bad thing. But yes, in Sri Lanka, you are at least somebody. And then when I came back to Sri Lanka, Professor J.N.O. Fernando knew that I'm not academic material. I started my career as an industrialist or industrial chemist. I joined Institute of Chemistry on a temporary basis in 2013 April, when I came back as a like a teacher or teacher as lecturer to conduct the practicals, and I associated with him very closely at that time, actually, never before. So he was talking about the research. So what he said was, our research in academia is mostly what we do with our own thoughts or whatever the things that we can get grants, mostly. Right? There are certain researchers who go against that, but most of the research happening in Sri Lanka currently is that based on what you like, the principal investigator or professor who likes. Academia needs to focus on the needs of the industry, because Sri Lanka was a rich country with industries, but unfortunately not now. So what we are doing here is we are pushing our research into the industry. That is not the case, because industry may not need what you are doing, but the industry needs solutions for their problems. So that is something he was very focused, and he advised me when I went to the industry. And certain other things. Professor J.N.O. Fernando is a very punctual person. He honored everybody else's time. When he starts a meeting, he starts the meeting right on the dot. When he finishes it, he says, "We are done." Whatever it is in between, he makes sure he completes that. Whatever the decisions are made, the decisions are very straightforward, and most of them are right. If they are wrong, he defended that. He's a true leader. So, and in talking about the punctuality, I remember my wedding. So my wedding was on 31st of August 2000, right? And he had a meeting at the Education Ministry with the examination board. The meeting went till 5:30, and the signing time was around 6:30 or 7 o'clock. And at that time, we didn't have cell phones to communicate. And we were worried that he will not come to sign the witness, and I was very happy at that time, because he was not there to sign. But he showed up. He showed up, and Mrs. Mandrupa, if you can remember, what happened was he has parked his car in kind of a little hill at the examination department, and handbrake was broken and the car has gone back and hit a couple of cars. Right? You remember that? Yeah. So there was a lot of things happening at that time, but somehow he made it. It was something that I cannot even forget, like how he did. Right? You family members would remember that. And he delivered his promise. So he remembered and he wanted to come and sign for my wedding. So those things. And the other thing I remember is Achin is here, Mihir is here, my classmates. When we were in first year, second year, he was teaching us surface chemistry. Surface chemistry is one of his favorite subjects and one of my favorite subjects. And he has set up a tutorial class, question tutorial class, and all the students forgot about that. I was there, and behind me it was Mihir because I was there. Two of us were there, and he didn't say anything. He said, "Oh, you are here," and then he was sitting in front of us. He was sitting on the table. We took chairs. He delivered us. He taught us 2.5 hours, just two of us. He could have said only there are two of you, so I can cancel it. But he honored because we were there. So that kind of qualities I haven't seen from anybody. On the other hand, he was a funny fellow as well. So if you know that the family members, right? How humorous he is, how funny he was. For example, you always say pattapal boru, olla pattapal boru. This is a signature sentence coming from him all the time. Whether it's science, whether it's politics or life. When it is something he can criticize, this is the sentence coming out of his mouth, and he's laughing as anything. And there's a very interesting story of ethanol plant in Pennsylvania. When Professor J.N.O. Fernando and Mrs. Mandrupa Fernando visited USA, I am the person, myself and Ranmal and late Hini, right? So we were the students who arranged the whole visit. We arranged from day one to when he was leaving. So we coordinated with each other and we did everything. While we were traveling from my house to Longwood Gardens, one of the famous gardens in Pennsylvania, we passed a cornfield. When we were passing cornfield, there was a ethanol extraction plant there. So I showed Professor J.N.O. Fernando, there's ethanol plant. He realized what is ethanol plant, and Mrs. Mandrupa asked, what is that ethanol plant? She thought that it's a plant, just a tree. And he said, these are ethanol plants, showing the cornfield. In one way, it is correct because the ethanol is extracted from corn. But he was having a good laugh there. And I never realized that side of Professor J.N.O. Fernando is there. And then he was also, that's what I told about USA tour. And he was very interested and he wanted to revive the Institute of Chemistry Alumni Association because that was kind of inactive at that time. He wanted to have it back again. And then at that time I was in Sri Lanka and Ms. Ariyananda, Ranmal, Kirti, and so there were a couple of others. So we wanted to restart the Alumni Association. And then our the second birth of Alumni Association was held in somewhere in Port, Lighthouse Galley. Unfortunately, he couldn't come because of the health reasons. And that was one of the events he missed actually. So we were so hoping him to come, but he sent us a letter delivered by Mrs. Ariyananda. So he really wanted the birth of Alumni Association. Now we are glad that we have fulfilled his dream. There's a lot of activities going on. And as I said, he was a very humorous person, and he was very fond of some of the students who were performing well at that time. I was the first of the batch in the part 2, and then Mihiri was the second of the batch. And he was very happy during the award ceremony. He says he's first, she's second. And then in the second time, in the final exam, she was the first and I was the second. And then he said, he is first, she is second, and second time she is first, he is second, and he remembered that. So it was a very close moment for us, because he was personally looking after us on that. And there were many life-changing moments with Professor J.N.O. Fernando. As I said, in one person's life, probably you get into trouble only once or twice because of another person. But Professor J.N.O. Fernando put me in trouble in 3 times. One time when I enrolled the Institute of Chemistry, and the second time when he signed for my wedding. Third time, asking me to come back to Sri Lanka, but it was not a trouble actually. So we were very glad, we were privileged to have him in our wedding, and he honored the promise, and he signed, and he strengthened the chemical bond between me and Mihiri. And not only that, he was very helpful, and he was looking after, and he was always asking about our lives. So he was personally looking at the development and growth of our lives. So as I said, Professor J.N.O. Fernando's influence in 1994 when I joined the Institute of Chemistry, and he pushed us in 2000. In 2000, he was one of the persons asked me, Piyal, what are you doing? I said, I'm working at the Unilever. I think you should apply for PhD. So he wouldn't say to any other person, I don't know. But for me, it was personally, he told that he's the one who encouraged me, and he was the one who wrote a very interesting reference letter for my almost, there were about 10, 15 universities we applied. He never said no for any reference letter request. And coming back to Sri Lanka also, he influenced me a lot. So one of the reasons he wanted to start Institute of Chemistry is an institute for professionals. So there were a lot of universities, few universities for chemists at that time, but he wanted to start an institute for professionals, and he believed in affordable education. Currently, Sri Lankan private education may not be very affordable, but his dream, his vision was an affordable education for the underprivileged students. And I see that as when he was around, but I want to see that happening in the Institute of Chemistry, because at the moment, Institute of Chemistry is the only person that provides a BSc, a real BSc in Sri Lanka. And Mr. Chairman, there are a few universities already working on BScs. So the competition will be high. And if we are not delivering a good product, there will be definitely a lot of things will happen. So I had discussion with Professor J.N.O. Fernando at that time also. But at that time, he was very sure that Institute of Chemistry is the only thing that can deliver. Hasanta, I want to share the slides. So, Okay. So I believe you can see now. So yeah. So that's where his wish an affordable education for all, and we believe that we would need that in the future. And his dream was creating professionals for industry and industrially applicable research through the Institute of Chemistry. So that is where we are as industrial chemists. That is where we are fulfilling his dream. And there are many more professional chemists, scientists fulfilling his dream in that front. So talking about the industrial research and academic research, there are many things that we need to consider. So this is one, the second topic I want to take up, that as an industrial research scientist and academic I see both sides. So in industrial research, mostly we are quick result oriented. And there are skilled and specialized teams. And there's a particular allocated budget with expected outcomes in our research. And often it is profit driven. So most of this research is innovations based on the business viability, customer desirability, and technical feasibility. That is where the innovations are. But in terms of academic research, it is result oriented, but it's more on the concepts and small scale operations, mostly lab scale operations. Very hardly that goes to the industrial scale. The desires of the principal investigator or his or her area of expertise dominate the research. And the timelines are a bit relaxed because the students are conducting all this research. They are conducting research while they are studying. So there's no blame, but in terms of research in Sri Lanka, the deliverables are not as expected as in industry. It has limited resources, particularly at this time. The chemicals and instruments are limited, and limited funding, and it takes some time, as well as often far from the practical applications. So this is the difference between industrial research and academic research. But how are we going to bridge that gap? So industrial research, although it has all the resources, it may not have enough academic knowledge in industry to guide the research, because most of these chemists and the researchers are not having a solid academic background in the innovations and in higher end research. And also, they have more experience than the knowledge going through their careers. And it has one big thing, a lack of systematic approach, because there's, for innovations, for research, you need systematic approach, and it has overridden by the needs of the industry. But in terms of academic research, the biggest problem is lack of industrial knowledge and more theoretical than the experience, because we have seen, discussing with certain research groups in the universities, they don't have a huge idea on how to apply this chemistry to the industrial settings. And one big challenge we are having in the industry is lack of legal framework in the academic. Writing, signing up a non-disclosure agreement or talking about intellectual property is a big challenge for us when we talk with the universities. Universities don't have a very solid legal framework. So often these research projects and discussions drag few months because of this legal framework issues. And the enthusiasm and the target-based research applications are not very well established in academic research. Both the sides have shortcomings, but what we need to do is bridging that gap. So what we want to do is provide more lenient approach in collaboration. When we talk about the academic research connecting with the industry, they want the whole pie. They want the whole piece of everything. Sometimes what happens, they want the intellectual property rights, they want the patents and everything. But unfortunately, the industry funds the academic research. So in that case, the ownership should be shared, but it takes a lot of discussions to convince the academia on collaborating with the research and improve the understanding the academic research for the industry, because the industry doesn't realize the limitations of the academia sometimes. Also improve the understanding in the industrial settings to the academia. Right? When we talk about a reaction, let's say we have a reaction to add hydrogen, what we do? Reduction. In the reduction, what we do, we are adding, reducing sodium borohydride or anything that provides hydride. That would be good for a laboratory setting. But when it comes to the industry setting, you cannot use sodium borohydride or any other agents because it has safety issues. So then we have to use something else. So that is where we need to connect with the industry and academia to find the middle solution that will be helpful for both. And then what I propose is for the universities that we as industrialists don't know what is happening in the academia. What are the research happening in academia? That's what I invited Professor Nama, that we should hold research conferences at the Institute of Chemistry or in the universities, inviting the industrialists to see what you are doing. And the industrialists can come and listen to them, see them, and then pick the research, pick the projects, and then take it forward. So that's what we need to do. But unfortunately, that is not happening currently. So with that, I would like to take a little turn on what I am doing. So I work as global head of innovation at Stretchline. Stretchline is an organization where we make the elastics for you. Without our products, you will be very uncomfortable. We started in 1840 as Charnwood Elastics in UK. And later, when MA started the mass holdings factories, they wanted a supply chain partner for elastics. And Mr. Mahesh Amalin and the shareholders, owners of Stretchline, Charnwood Elastics, established Stretchline in UK. 1/3 of Stretchline is owned by MAs globally. And then we came to Sri Lanka in 1996, and there were many other countries we are present in: China, Indonesia, USA, Mexico, and Honduras. Our latest is going to start in Vietnam later this year, and next year we are going to Bangladesh. That's where we are. And we have interesting journey where our legacy is 180 years in elastic manufacturing, and we are present in 7 countries in 4 continents at the moment. We have 5,000 plus strong team globally, and we have 100 plus strong research and development and innovation teams, but only about 18 under me. The others are product developers, but they work with me. So this is how we work. Not only that, in terms of statistics, we produce over 1.5 billion meters of narrow fabrics or elastics per year. That is enough to wrap around the world 30 times over without stretch. So that is how we produce, and that is our presence. At Stretchline, innovation is a big part of our DNA, and in our products, dyes, machines, and everything, we are using innovation at the best. When you talk about innovation, so innovation is something that new to Sri Lanka. We all talk about research and development. What is innovation? Is innovation should be a creation of a unique product that has an unfair advantage in the market. When you talk about a product, let's talk about soap. My students are in the back, so they know the story. So when you make a soap, you have hundreds of different soaps in Sri Lanka. If you want to innovate something, you need to make a product that has an advantage over any of the existing products. So that is where the innovation comes. But unfortunately in Sri Lanka, there are people who make helicopters, which is already produced or in existing in the world, but they think that this is an innovation. I don't have any bad feeling on Vega, the car, the supercar in Sri Lanka, but at what cost we are innovating that? What are we gaining from that? There are so many supercars in the world which can go faster than any of these. Here we are making supercars. Who can afford that supercar in Sri Lanka? Can we make a cheaper car in Sri Lanka? Who can afford? Everybody can afford. But this is where we need to think about. Most of these innovations mostly accompany a patent. And these products should be first to the market. You cannot make another innovation just existing in the market. That is not an innovation. It's just a substitute. And mostly these innovations are profitable. Profitable for all the stakeholders, which when I talk about the definition of innovation, it comes. It should be profitable for everybody. Otherwise, it is not going to be an innovation. And this innovation should not be just one season. It should maintain at least a couple of years as that innovation. Otherwise, it's just an invention coming and disappearing. There are a couple of misconceptions on the innovation. There are three main words on innovation: discovery, invention, and innovation. If you don't distinguish these three words, your innovation will not be successful. When you talk about discovery, there are many discoveries we do. You go in Singaraja forest and you find a new frog that has been existing in the world, living in the world, but nobody has found it earlier. That is a discovery. You find a new meteorite in your garden. Maybe it has a different type of new type of metal or combination. That is a discovery. When you make something new, there are two ways you can make. For your fun, you can make something new. For example, you can make a pen that can be written underwater. There are many things happen like that. So that is for your fun, but that is you are spending money to make something that it may not go to the market. That is an invention, something nobody has done previously. The innovation is that making that or finding that and making that can be marketed and making profit. That is where the innovation comes. Sri Lanka has been a country with innovative products. In 1940s, 30s, the great Pandit Kumaratunga Munidasa predicted the current situation. Alut da nonanana jatiya lowa nonagi. That is where today we are. They did not innovate. In Global Innovation Index, where this is one of the indices that measures the development of the country. In 2018, we were 88, and 99, we went back to 101 out of 130 countries who are in the index. Fortunately, we are coming back to 85. We need innovators, we need inventions and innovations. The second verse of Kumaratunga Munidasa, Hinga kama bere unatana lagi gaya maragi. That is where we are today. The country does not innovate, will not progress. So that is why we need more innovators. That is why we need to revive our industries to get the country out of this abyss. That is everybody's academics as well as industrialists' prime task. In terms of innovation, this is a very long definition, but I believe that this is one of the definitions that complete the definition of the innovation. Innovation is doing something new or novel. Definitely it's something new or novel way that creates more value to the user or better experience to the customer to remain relevant in the market. And it should be profitable for all the stakeholders and remain resilient in long-term changes. If you make something in your industry, there are many stakeholders, the suppliers, the manufacturers, the user, customer. If the product is not profitable to any of these, they will fall out from the innovation journey, and your innovation will be a flop from that. I explained that to my students over half an hour, but this is not the time to explain that. So with that, to get an innovation, there should be 3 questions answered. Is it desirable to the users? Think about something you are using, any product that you are using. If it is not desirable to your user, you are not going to buy it. Is it viable to the business? In the current business, you need to make sure that it should be viable to the business. If Stretchline is going to make food, that's not viable to the business and that's not relevant to us. And you can make anything. It should be technically feasible for mass production. Otherwise, it will become another Vega car. Right? So these 3 questions should be answered, and these should have concrete black and white answers. Otherwise, this innovation will not go forward. And in terms of innovations, different discoveries, innovations, and inventions pass few stages, which we call technology readiness level or TRLs. Under my guidance, in Stretchline, we have main 34 global projects currently. I know that in university, professor will have maximum 10, 15 projects, but that is where in the industry what's happening. They are in different technology readiness levels. Some are in idea level. Some are in validation. Some are in small scale prototypes. Some are large prototypes. So like that, I have to monitor, I have to guide all these 34 research projects. That's why, Mihiri, I stay late night. So with that, actually, what we are doing is, before I joined and right now, we create products and we make brands. So our brands have different utilities, different products, different values. So stay for sure is something that we have an application that will stay on your body. So there are certain products that needs to stay on the body. For example, a stocking, right? So we have an application to keep that on your body. Bondylast is something that elastic or the stretchable bonding. That is where Michael Phelps won the 18 gold medals, because we created the bonding technology that can stretch on his swimsuit. LockSafe is something that you need to know that when you have an elastic, if you have a low quality elastic, the moment you remove one thread, it unravels forever. LockSafe is something that it locks with the first unravel and then it will not continue. Fortitube is that something that we have created 12 years ago. That is where in the intimate garments, in the bras, the wire breaks and pokes, the metal wires. There's a method called Fortitube we created that will not happen. And going beyond that, Arcaform is another product that I will explain a little later if we have time, how we revolutionize the wire industry. FitJ is something that we combined with one of the largest polyurethane manufacturer to create a comfortable elastic with polyurethane. And the Obinit is one of my creations with my team, which I will explain a little bit later when I talk about that. This is the latest brand coming out actually in this month. So we work with universities, we work with technical partners, and there are many university collaborations happening with us. In Sri Lanka, we work with University of Peradeniya on nano applications, Colombo University Cell, and the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. And Slintech, we have started certain discussions, but not gone too much. Loughborough University, there are a lot of applications we are working on. Cambridge, Nottingham Trent University, we work with them on wearable tech. The world's #1 textile university is North Carolina State University. We have a collaboration with them, and all these things happening with my coordination. We have 4 different labs worldwide. Time Lab in Sri Lanka, we work with our vendors because the largest manufacturing based in one location is in Sri Lanka. We work with MS, Brandix, Hela Clothing, Hydra Money, and others. The Future Lab in UK is mostly focused on the future products. We have futuristic products that can come in next 4 or 5 years. Discovery Lab in China, we work with the vendors, we work with the suppliers and machine manufacturers who bring out a lot of innovations very quickly. And we are setting up a new innovation lab in USA. We are already working with the NC State University, where we can directly connect with brands like VS, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, and they can come and work with us in the lab. So this is the innovation space at Stretchline. What we do, I want to take a couple of these commercialized and about to commercialize product where it involves a lot of chemistry. When it comes to dyes, apparel industry is the second largest polluter in the world. Who's the first? Oil and gas industry. We have the best reputation second best reputation of being a polluter in terms of garment or product manufacturing and usage of water. When you use dyes, all are synthetic dyes. So what Stretchline, and there are a couple of other organizations in MAS also, we are working on bringing natural dyes into nylon. When it comes to natural dyes love natural fibers like cotton, bamboo, like that. But bringing natural dyes into nylon needs a little bit of chemistry. That is where we are working, and we have successfully got 35 natural dyes extracted from the trees on nylon. And we have already launched this, and we are giving a bigger launch on the 5th of June, World Environmental Day. The next one is gray plasma. This is a patented product. This is a very interesting story. When it comes to the printing, you need to do a lot of screens, you need to use a lot of chemicals, and it needs a lot of water to wash off. The gray plasma is a waterless, inkless printing method on the elastics. The way we discovered is not in apparel industry, it's in something else, some other industry. Our team ideated that, why don't we do this? I cannot reveal what it is, but it is a plasma technique where we bring out the color of the inherent properties of polymers. There are certain chemicals that are included in fabrics to enhance the properties, and we use plasma technology to bring that out. And this is a permanent print. There are many things that we do with this. So this is where chemistry and technology combine together. This is where innovation happens. Fabrics have been there for a long time. The particular technology has been there for a long time. Combining them together to bring a new product is where the innovation happens. The third one is the exposed printing. So this is completely a chemical reaction. So in dye, in the printing, there are many things that we can do with chemicals. This also gives a burnout effect, and the chemist would know how it is being done probably. So we get a distressed or burnout effect to give unique patterns in the elastic. So this is also something that it has been in the industry, but making different things. So the latest brand what we are putting out is the Obinit. This is not a chemical technology, but it is a completely a knitting technology. And what happens, the people, the users who use these products know how difficult it is, right? What we are doing is we are reducing the shoulder strap strain and relieving the pressure by changing the technology of making the elastics. So it is much more flexible and it gives a good waist distribution and it reduces the tension, and also with that, it reduces the impressions on your body with prolonged use of it. So this is our latest brand, and there are many advantages, and it improves the comfort by reducing the digging for prolonged use. And it is sleeker and it is more uniform and it has the appearance of a fabric. And also it has a 360-degree appearance and it can be reversible, compatible with most of the products, and new type of knitted elastics. And this is what we are launching in this month. What I talked about Arcoform is that the bra wire, right? Those who use know how uncomfortable it is. It can bend and it can break, and that will be the end of that product. So what we are doing is we have worked on a fabric polymer composite that is flexible and it cannot be broken by bending into two. So it comes back, and it is also a patented product and it is very flexible. It has been, the trial version has been sold in Australia, 70,000 pieces. And through the customer reviews, there's 0 bad reviews on the product. And we have launched it last month, and the production is going to happen in Sri Lanka. Not only that, not only the fabrics, we work on futuristic applications as well. There are a lot of interest coming into the apparel industry with the wearable technology. In 2027, the wearable apparel market is going to be $200 billion market. It's much bigger than Sri Lankan economy. That is where we are working on to cater that and bring more revenue to Sri Lanka. We are working on thermal conductivity, including wires into the garments, elastics, electrical conductivity, and data. There are many products currently in the market with our products. And we are working on fiber optics also, which is something new to our industry. So with that, I'm very privileged to deliver this lecture for the commemoration of Professor J.N.O. Fernando, our mentor, our role model. And what he envisioned throughout his life was not anything for himself. I'm taking Albert Pike's famous quote, "What we have done for ourselves alone dies with us." There are many people in this country died throughout the history who have been forgotten. But the person who has done something for the others and the world remains immortal. Professor J.N.O. Fernando departed us but his legacy remains as long as the Institute of Chemistry will remain in this country. And I would like to thank the chairman and the council, the chairman and the committee of Professor J.N.O. Fernando Commemoration Committee, and Mrs. Mandrupa Fernando and the extended family, the lecturers, the staff, and the students of the Institute of Chemistry, Stretchline Holdings for allowing me to discuss some of these innovations, my family and friends who came for me and joined us, and all the well-wishers and the contributors for the commemoration activities. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, sir. Your speech told us so much about how much Professor J.N.O had, how much difference Professor J.N.O had made in your life. And I'm sure that it made not only me, but most students here wish that we were at a time where he was. So now to present the token of appreciation to our orator, I would like to invite the President of Institute of Chemistry, Ceylon, Mr. N.M.S. Hettigadara, and the Chairperson of the Professor J.N.O. Fernando Commemoration Organizing Committee, Dr. A.A.P.K. Ratnayake. Thank you, sir. As most of you know, we had organized the Interlevel Chemistry General Knowledge Quiz for the second time in memorial of the Professor J.N.O. Fernando. This great initiative allowed the students of CCS to read through the history of their college, refresh their memory on chemistry facts that most of us tend to forget, and have some fun at the same time. So next on the agenda, we have the awarding ceremony of the prizes to the young enthusiasts who participated in the quiz. I would like to invite Mr. P.R.O. Fernando, the brother of late Professor J.N.O. Fernando, and Dr. Ranmal Gunatilaka, the academic in charge of the Interlevel Chemistry General Knowledge Quiz, to hand over the prizes to the prize winners. To start off with the participants of the event, Manet Nanayakkara, Subatika Annangara, Sachinta Sena Nayaka, and the leader of the team level 1 team, they would to receive the cash prize of 5,000 as well. A representative of the member can collect the cash prize. The level 2 team, Keisha Astrid Fernandez, WPD Luckman, KA Vishwasamol, and leader of the level 2 team, Mohammad Insaf Iftikhar. In runners-up, we had the level 3 team winning RM Veeratunga, SMD Gimhani Jaitilaka, CAS Munasingha, and the leader of the runners-up team, K. Pramod Vimukti. The runners-up team was also awarded a cash prize of 20,000 rupees. And finally, the winning team, we have the level 4 students of CCS, AL Hettige, Nisal Utsara Malavirarachi, YLSA Yakandavala, and the leader of the winning team, DM Senan Ritmaka Alvis. A cash prize of rupees 40,000 was awarded for the winning team. Thank you very much, sir. And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all winners and participants of the quiz. With the donations made by our generous donators, the organizing committee was able to has prepared to donate a gift hamper of essential items worth more than 5,000 rupees to over 30 members of the non-academic staff and the outsourced employees of ICANC. I would now like to invite Mr. N.M.S. Hettigadara, assisted by Dr. A.A.P. PPK Attanayaka, to hand over the donations to the non-academic staff of ICANC. I kindly request 3 of the senior ICANC representatives of the non-academic staff to collect your donations. Thank you, sir. So as we have come to the end of the evening, I would like to thank everyone present here today. The family of Professor J.N.O. Fernando, special invitees, lecturers, donators, members of the Institute of Chemistry Ceylon and alumni, sponsors, Nestle Lanka, Unilever, Dilmati and Falcon Foods, quiz masters Ms. Lakalia and Ms. Yasmita, the organizing committee, quiz participants, the web team, students, and everyone present here. I would like to finally thank the members of the JNO Fernando Commemoration Committee members, without whom nothing of this would have been possible today. To officially end the evening, I would like to kindly invite all of you to go to the ground floor in front of Professor J.N.O. Fernando's bust for the garlanding. Thank you.
Very much. That's true. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. All family members.